We're going to talk about understanding the kitchen, which is also called the non-volley zone, because for those of you that play pickleball, you know, but for the tennis players coming in, the obvious reason is that you can't volley in the non-volley zone. But what we want to talk about is really how do you master the kitchen? Because if you can master your game up here, you're going to really be great back there. Because pickleball stems from 3 foundational points. Posture, what we're going to be focusing on is our bullseye, which is the middle of our chest, which is always up. We never break our posture. Contact point, always making contact in front of us. Coming from tennis, a lot of people always make contact behind them, which causes the ball to pop up and gets us ultimately killed. And then footwork. In pickleball, when you're up in the kitchen or the non-volley zone, it's about shifting. It's not about moving. The more you move your feet, the more your contact point breaks and gets further back, the more the ball pops up because you ultimately lose your posture. So what we want to focus on is that posture being up, contact point being in front of us, and shifting as we move. Some of the things that I always think about when I'm playing pickleball is always keeping one foot anchored. So when I'm moving, one foot always is set in place. The minute I take 2 steps, I tend to lose the kitchen. So when we're playing with somebody, our goal is always to try to make them lose their posture and ultimately take 2 steps, which will cause them to pop the ball up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to demonstrate what this looks like. In pickleball, we always want the face of the paddle open. We want our wrists locked at all times, and we're trying to hit with the top part of the paddle. We're guiding the ball. We're never using our wrist. As I'm dinking, notice what I'm doing with my paddle. I'm hitting 3 contact points, so I'm using my legs and my shoulders to hit the ball. So I'm guiding it out almost like I'm clearing a table. What most people have trouble doing when they're coming into pickleball for the first time is they use their wrist. When I use my wrist, the ball is always going to pop up. No matter what I do, I break my posture, the ball pops up. But the minute I keep my posture, my heels are up and I'm on my toes, notice how low I can keep that ball. I'm using my shoulder to push it out. I'm using my legs to get under the ball, and I'm never having to take a step. I can move my opponent all over the court without taking more than 1 step, just by having that contact point in front of me. That's something that's incredibly important. The minute we lose our contact point and the ball is behind us, the minute we start losing the kitchen. Some ways that people also ask is, what happens if people start hitting the ball deeper? So if I'm playing and somebody's hitting deep and I start stepping back, ultimately I'm going to lose the kitchen. So instead of constantly stepping back, I want to stand where I am, and I'm going to take that ball out of the air. Notice my paddle face is always open. It's in front of me. I'm able to never move, but my shoulder is what pushes that ball. Now there's multiple ways to hit. 2 that are the most common in pickleball are one called shoveling, which my wrist is locked and I'm pushing, which looks something like this. The paddle's in front. I'm guiding that ball out. I'm able to keep it low, but I'm just directing it out to my target. For tennis players coming in, you're able to do a little bit more because of the eye-hand coordination that you have. But the paddle contact point, the tip of the paddle is always in front of my wrist. So rolling comes into play. Shoveling, rolling, which means the tip of the paddle still in front, but I'm going to go forward and slightly up. So it'll look more like this, straight up. This allows me to give my opponents different looks and allows me to move that ball around and apply more pressure, which is ultimately going to get that ball to pop up higher. So again, the key things in pickleball when you're up in the non-volley zone is 1, shifting. So I'm always shifting on the outside of my toes, 1 step away from every shot. 2 is contact point. I don't want to pull my elbows back. I'm keeping my elbows in front of me at all times and pushing that ball out with my legs. And 3, which is the most important thing, especially in tennis, coming to pickleball, this is a very big similarity between the 2, is keeping that posture. Notice when I'm dinking, if I'm going to take that ball in the air, I'm never bending over. I'm squatting down like I'm sitting in a chair. If you can keep your posture, you will never hit that ball behind you. The minute somebody breaks their posture, their contact point drops. But by keeping my posture and squatting, I am able to dictate where I'm hitting the ball. Keep your posture, keep the paddle in front of you, and always shift, and you'll be a successful pickleball player.